Russell Wilson is getting out to a really cold start at training camp for the Denver Broncos, man. And if you're a Broncos fan, seeing Russell Wilson struggling right now has to have you on edge. And you probably are really tempted to hit the panic button, but please don't hit that panic button. Just not yet. I get it. You were in the same situation that you are right now last year in training camp with how this offense have struggled and the defense getting the better of the offense. But you knew that this was going to take some time. Yes, you did hire a way better head coach than Sean Payton. And yes, most of us believe that Sean Payton is going to be able to rehabilitate Russell Wilson's career. But this isn't something that's just going to work right out the gate. And for Sean Payton, he's been really supportive of Russell Wilson and the development that he's making when it comes to learning this system, getting more comfortable in this offense. And even Sean Payton, he's still trying to get comfortable with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson had a practice session where he threw 2 interceptions. And Sean Payton, when he was asked about Russell Wilson and those turnovers and how Russell Wilson has got out to a cold start, he said that he's not worried about it because he is going with a schedule that is going to find out or try to figure out what plays work, what plays don't work, what plays are Russell Wilson the most comfortable with, which plays are uncomfortable to him. So there's a learning curve for not just Russell Wilson, but also Sean Payton. They have to get a better understanding of each other and trying to figure out, what works for who. For Russell Wilson, this was somebody who made a living off improvising and making a lot of things happen out of structure. Sean Payton, he had a quarterback that's probably one of the greatest of all time in playing in structure. Drew Brees, prime definition of a system quarterback, and he was a damn good one. And when you look at Russell Wilson, this is somebody who doesn't really play well in structure. So there has to be a balance that has to be worked out between the two. Sean Payton has to build an offense that still goes for his main philosophies, which is ball control, running the football, taking care of the rock, not having a lot of turnovers, being efficient. But at the same time, he also has to build an offense that gets Russell Wilson comfortable with what he does best, which is getting outside the pocket and making a lot of big plays downfield. So there has to be a balance. And right now, I think that Sean Payton is trying to find that balance, figuring out what works well for Russell Wilson, but also what works well for him as a play caller. And Russell Wilson, this is somebody who puts in a lot of work. He puts in a lot of dedication towards understanding the playbook. You never have to question Russell Wilson's work ethic. That's one thing for certain. I just think right now things have kind of started off a little bit wonky. And as we progress throughout training camp, things are going to get better. Russell Wilson, I still think that he has a lot left in the tank. The Broncos have had a good amount of injuries so far throughout training camp. KJ Hamler, he's injured. Tim Patrick, he's pretty much done for the season with an Achilles injury. So there's been a lot of things that not just Russell Wilson has had to overcome, but this whole entire offense. Russell Wilson isn't the only person struggling. It seems like people are trying to make it seem like Russell Wilson is the only person struggling in training camp. This whole entire offense has gotten out to a cold start. The defensive line has been getting the better of the offensive line. Russell Wilson hasn't had a lot of time to sit back and throw the ball a lot, at least with him not having pressure in his face. And these receivers have been a little bit inconsistent at times with catching the football. So it's not just all on Russell Wilson for why the Broncos offense has struggled so far in training camp. It also is due to the other pieces around him. Jerry Jeudy's been really good, but outside of him, it's been some inconsistency at that wide receiver position and on the offensive line, which the Denver Broncos were hoping that they had improved. But so far, that offensive line still hasn't started to mesh well with the additions that they brought in, such as new offensive tackle Mike McGlinchey. But looking at Russell Wilson with Sean Payton, you got to understand that this is something that isn't going to work right out the gate. It's going to take time. And if you're a Broncos fan and you have faith that Denver is going to have a good season this year, it's not because you believe that Russell Wilson is going to bounce back, but it's due to the fact that you believe that Sean Payton is going to put Russell Wilson in the situation that allows him to have a bounce back season. Really, you don't have faith that Russell Wilson can bounce back, but you have faith in Sean Payton. So therefore, you got to trust Sean Payton. If anybody asks you, hey man, like, why do you got so much confidence in the Denver Broncos despite how bad Russell Wilson has been throughout training camp? If you're a Broncos fan, your response needs to be Sean Payton. I trust Sean Payton. And if you're a fan of any other team and you're trying to question if this Russell Wilson thing is going to work or not, you got to have the same mentality also. A lot of people overlook the importance of having a great head coach. Sean Payton is one of the greatest offensive minds that ever coached this game. He's going to find a way to get the most out of Russell Wilson. He's going to put him in an offense that's going to suit their needs. It's going to be a good blend of what Sean Payton has been accustomed to doing over the last couple of years in New Orleans, and it's going to be a mix of what Russell Wilson has done well when he was playing at his peak in Seattle. I remember watching an episode of The Herd when Sean Payton was on, and he was talking about if he was coaching Denver at that time last year, he would turn on Russell Wilson's film of some of his greatest hits, figure out what he was doing, what he was comfortable with in the offense that had him playing at a high level, and look at his lowlights from last year and try to figure out what has led to Russell Wilson not playing well and try to figure out how to get him playing back at the level that he was with the Seattle Seahawks, which may involve, implementing things that Russell Wilson was comfortable with when he was at his peak playing for Seattle. Russell Wilson struggling in training camp shouldn't alarm any Denver Broncos fans. You guys just need to relax. Let training camp continue to play out. The preseason is just around the corner. This isn't something that you is going to snap your fingers and just see immediate improvement. Sean Payton, his offense isn't the easiest to learn. There's a lot of nuance to it. It's a little complex. And Sean Payton, as a play caller, he's doing process of elimination. He pretty much has a schedule of plays every single day that he wants to test out during training camp to see which ones work, which ones don't work, and which ones possibly could work in certain situations. So don't trip out about Russell Wilson having this cold start. It's training camp. It's not about how you start. It's about how you finish. And if you're a head coach, you rather your quarterback have a strong finish to training camp and have a lot of momentum and confidence going into the season versus him having a fast start to training camp and then slowing down with the regular season approaching. So I'd rather Russell Wilson have these struggles early, continue to learn and grow for them, and continue to get better versus him having a fast start and then slowing down and getting cold near the end. Don't hit the panic button if you're a Broncos fan. There's a lot of training camp to go. Yeah, the days are winding down until week 1, but there's still a lot of time left. Training camp is about trying to get the kinks out, trying to build chemistry, trying to better understand your personnel if you're a head coach, trying to understand what your head coach wants from you as a player. So don't overreact to some of the early reports that are coming out about Russell Wilson struggling in training camp. He hasn't been completely bad. He has had a couple of solid days, but the main thing that has hindered Russell Wilson so far throughout training camp has been his decision making and his accuracy, and the performance of the offensive line has played a role into that with how this defense, according to reports, has been getting advantage of them. So the Denver Broncos, their offensive struggles aren't mainly due to Russell Wilson. As a whole, this offense just is kind of starting out on the wrong foot, and this defense is balling out. So either the Denver Broncos are going to have one of the best defenses in the NFL, or this offense may be trash according to certain people, with the perception that they have about Denver right now based on these reports coming out. Like I was telling my homeboy, I was like, you got to chill, man. You got to learn that training camp is not about how you start. It's about growing and getting better every single day. So when you get into the regular season, you're ready, you're playing at your highest level possible for an early season start, and you're hoping that, you know, your early struggles in training camp lead to you improving, learning from those mistakes, and hopefully you end up having a hot start to the season, coming off a hot finish to training camp. That's why they said, even though the rabbit starts out fast, the turtle still wins the race. The reason for that is because the tortoise doesn't rush anything. The tortoise does everything at his own pace. If you're the Denver Broncos, your offense may not be clicking on the same level as some of the other offenses in training camp right now that are performing really well. But it's not about that. It's about trying to find what works for you as a play caller. If you're Sean Payton, if you're Russell Wilson, it's trying to get more comfortable in Sean Payton's system. Same thing with all the other players on the offensive side of the football. Everybody's going through a little bit of an adjustment period. And when that adjustment period ends and these players are super confident and they have a good understanding of Sean Payton's offense, I expect this offense to ramp up the production, and I expect Russell Wilson to do the same. So don't panic if you're a Denver Broncos fan about these early training camp struggles.